Hello, lovelies. It's a new year, a time to look backward at what has been accomplished and to look forward to what might be achieved in the future. It's a time to reassess, reorganise and consider, even if a year is just a kind of arbitrary division of time. I've been trying to rest and take things easier for 2 years now, and while I don't feel like I've accomplished that much in the last 2 years, I also don't feel particularly rested. I still work constantly, but feel like I have less and less to show for it. In this last year, not counting stock art re-releases from Brad McDevitt, I've only released 12 products a month, mostly smaller, mostly shorter, many of which are material by the OGGM rather than my own. You know, helping the dude out, getting him published, doing editing, layout, all of that. Yeah, bless him, but editing, laying out and creating graphics for the OGGM's material is almost as big of a job as creating something oneself. But I'm glad to help him. Happy to help him. Happy to help him get seen and sold to more people, earn a few extra bucks, all of that. Still slightly recovering from a cold, excuse me. On top of that publication schedule, I've created an average of 6 YouTube videos a week, going by the numbers, though there were instances of multiple videos or large numbers of pre-recorded Roll for Insight videos that kept those numbers up. I've accumulated over the last year 500,000 views, 500,000 views, 7,800 subscribers total, and about $1,300 from those videos. Meanwhile, over on Grimstreams, I've run 37 live streamed games and played in others, mostly on those off weeks, accumulating about 13,000 views over there, 670 subscribers, and no money. In addition, I've been on the Week in Geek nearly every Saturday, some Tuesdays, time and holiday permitting, on Dungeons and Discussions as well. And then there's Tabletopless, which has monetary and non-monetary compensations, and remains something that I am incredibly proud of and glad to be associated with. Through all of this that I do, I've made many friendships, gained a lot of insight, and I think demonstrated the validity and viability of adult-oriented gaming, as well as weirdly presenting games as they actually are, minus the nudity to a lot of people, a kind of antithesis to Critical Role in a lot of ways. There have been bumps in the road and problem players, issues along the way, of course, but that hasn't really been my fault, which makes a change. Then there's the stuff I do outside of my publicly available persona, or I guess fursona in this outfit. Mentoring, advising, consultancy, and stuff that I do under pen names, like writing naughty stuff. That sounds like a lot, probably, to a lot of people, but a lot of it is unpaid and thankless or invisible labour. And to me, it doesn't feel like much, but my assessment of what a lot is probably skewed. Back in the day, I used to be able to bang out 10,000 words a day on a project, which is like 10 times more than most people. But compared to past me, current me feels like a lazy bones. And in terms of feeling like a bit of a failure, that's the big one for me. The relative lack of productivity and the lack of success in the productivity that I have managed to accomplish. Some of that is down to illness, mental and physical, of course, but now I'm healthy, or at least healthy enough to stay treading water rather than going for any more treatments or interventions or checkups. So this year I will be 50, and I guess given all of my challenges, I have to accept that this means I will inevitably slow down and be less able to accomplish everything that I want to all by myself, which is terrifying to a control freak. That my issues are now managed doesn't mean that I no longer have those issues. It just means that a combination of counselling, occasional therapy, drugs and support allows me to function something like a normal human being. A surprising number of my fellow creators, whether in the adult sphere or the publishing sphere or the games sphere, are unwell. It enables us to pursue this as a career, but it also limits us to pursuing this as a career. It's a very double-edged sort of sword in that. I haven't managed to rest, though. The support and the relatively clean bill of health make the feeling of that lack of productivity more profound rather than creating a sense of relief. You know, I should be capable of more, and excuses that I would accept have fallen away over this year. A standard line of attack that a lot of people have against me is my status as being partially disabled and accepting the support that I'm entitled to from the government. It shouldn't bother me, but it does. And it does add to that societal expectation, that pressure to be a productive citizen. There's also a mindset, having been poor and unemployed and living out of one room for an extended period in the past, of not being able to treat yourself for fear of being judged, and therefore being more grateful than you should be for scraps, and yet at the same time ashamed of whatever help you do get, and this feeling that you shouldn't need it. I've also struggled with work-related problems relating to the adult side gigs. Not so much tabletopless, but elsewhere, erotica, things like that I do invisibly on the side, and no, I'm not going to tell you. The restrictions on payment services for adult content seem to ratchet up every year, causing problems whether you're doing an adult stream, selling adult art, importing or exporting hentai, or just writing erotica. And there are extra hoops and extra costs that disproportionately impact and harm people in those adult-oriented creative communities, many of whom are vulnerable, as I mentioned, due to health and other issues similar to mine. That kind of digital sword of Damocles that Visa and MasterCard seem to wield over every other payment process online, that is a constant source of stress. I've also been ripped off multiple times this past year, which has impacted my trust in people and my desire to work with other human beings, or to work at all, if I'm completely honest. I used to do open art calls over social media to find people whose day I could make by giving them commissions. And you can't really do that anymore. There's too many scammers out there trying to pass off other people's art as their own, using AI while pretending to be a flesh and blood artist, or requiring dodgy payments via third parties in very particular apps. You know, things that make me nervous, that put my hackles up, that make me not want to work with these people. And many of these artists also lack the talent to back up what they're charging. Where these delusional levels of compensation are coming from, I don't really know, but I suspect crowdfunding is inflating the price. Now, for actual artists, that's good, but there are a lot of scammers and problem people out there, like people who will go ahead and do the commission while you're still negotiating and then demand money. That's not the way to do business. I've decided in the coming year, at least, I'm going to try to primarily work with a single artist and limit myself to vetted artists who've worked with other people I know in the industry from now on. Now, that's nepotistic. It's problematic because it's not providing opportunities for new people. I always got a real sense of joy in finding new artists and helping them make a living at, something they want to do, helping pay their way through college, helping them emerge onto the scene, all of that stuff. I used to love it. I don't feel that I can do it anymore. And this makes me feel awful because I won't be allowing those new people to increase their visibility and get their foot in the door to make a living doing their art. Yeah, I wasted quite a lot of money just getting some of these people to fuck off and leave me alone because I couldn't handle it anymore. So, unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be. At the same time, it has been a year of constant and distressing reminders of the times that I have taken a stand on principle and been punished for it. Ties cut with people who excuse or encourage various social media atrocities, who join in on the mob du jour, and who make life hell for people like myself and Jim Raji, who is a wonderful human being, quite frankly, who deserves a lot better than he gets. I've also been very much reminded that these people who hate us, or at least the ones that hate me, will never ever let this go. They seem devoted to a level of psychopathy and sadism that I, an actual sadist, find to be a little bit too much. For example, I've been more active on Blue Sky. Twitter's still useful, but a lot of people have moved over to Blue Sky, so it makes sense to be active on both platforms. And I've discovered that even while I wasn't really on there, save in the most basic sense, there was quite a lot of shit talking and ground salting going on. And now that I am there, I have people sliding into the DMs of others to warn them about me, what a terrible human being I am. And apparently I'm supposed to have learned some sort of lesson from the shunning and shittiness that I have experienced. And that lesson seemingly isn't supposed to be these people are unhinged psychopaths who punish you forever based on their own misapprehensions. But that is the lesson I've learned, and that's just the way it is. I wish I didn't care, but I do. Because it matters. One of these people gets to someone, a potential friend or acquaintance or colleague first, and they poison the well when it comes to me. Being a man of firm moral conviction and principle is supposed to be a good thing. Instead, I find people going off and taking the wrong thing from whatever I have said or done. For example, I got very angry at people who were defaming Gary Gygax and using him to attack Ernie Gygax. I don't think it is on. I don't think it's cricket to defame someone's dead father and then use their dead father to attack them. That feels dirty to me as a tactic. Whatever Ernie might have actually said or done, one way or the other. Yeah. But in saying, I don't think you should attack people this way, I don't think you should speak ill of the dead, or at least you shouldn't make up shit about people who are dead and can't defend themselves, that's somehow taken as a defense of new TSR as a whole, and all of the racist and nonsensical shenanigans they got up to when I was actually just defending a son against having his dead father used as a club to beat him with. And then on the other side of things, I distanced myself extremely gently from the Red Room's transphobia, and that blew up for reasons that escape me. Somehow I'm suddenly the wokiest of woke, just for not liking them being nasty for no reason to people. So either I'm a fascist for defending Ernie against a below the belt wielding of his father, or I'm suddenly woke for thinking it might be nice to argue with civility and good faith, rather than constantly just condemning people and blowing everything out of all proportion. I don't get it. And that feeds into the problems I've been having with the RPG landscape as a whole these last few years. This is going to sound awfully arrogant and elitist, but I don't really mean it that way. I make trash as well, put it that way. But many things that gain considerable success, frankly, don't deserve it. The lazy 5e tie-ins and splat books, and using the system for things it's unsuited for. The games that don't even try to hide their inspiration. The low-effort nostalgia bait and culture war bullshit that infests the indie and OSR scenes. The papal indulgence crowdfunders, the people back to either vice or virtue signal their allegiance with the woke or the anti-woke. And given the baffling US election, that temperature seems likely to be turned up for at least the next 4 years or so. The key to success in this landscape doesn't seem to be talent, experience, the quality of your ideas, but rather political flag waving, marketing, or the worst lowest common denominator bullshit. It also helps, at least on one side, if a creator can sell themselves as being queer, disabled, and having a minority status. And this, to me, as someone in a few minority status things who is disabled, and who doesn't seem to be benefiting from this in the same way and wouldn't want to, this looks awfully condescending and insulting to me. Yeah, I believe in the power of role-playing games. I really do. I hope that's come across in some of my more pretentious videos recently. I believe they can be art in their construction, layout, art choices, writing, and in the way that they are played. And it feels like nobody is really trying anymore, and I, for all my pretensions, can't compete and have very little motivation. Yeah, even if I sink to the same level, I can't seem to compete. Yes, there are exceptions to all this, and if you know me well, and we talk regularly, I'm almost certainly not talking about you. But then, in that case, you're also not enjoying the success that I think you deserve either. So, why keep going? I mean, do I really want to do this anymore? The margins are slim and getting slimmer all the time. I already do the social media and the YouTube. I edit, I write, I do layout, I work on graphic design, I write the copy for the web pages and everything. I don't have the money to hire anyone else to help me, and I don't have the energy left, or the inclination or the personality to do marketing or to understand the seemingly willfully confusing nature of Facebook or Google ads. This has been the year of AI, I think. AI offers the opportunity to fill some gaps, especially with AI art. For all its shortcomings, it makes smaller, weirder, more artistic projects in terms of writing and concept more viable, or fiscally viable at all. And I remain somewhere in the middle on AI. It has its place and will eventually settle somewhere based on that, same as we did with Photoshop. It'll be another tool in the box, but everyone wants you to take a side. You must either be for the tech oligarchs or the Luddites, and apparently there's no position in between that you could adopt. Using it at all seems to have a significant negative impact, even on projects where you barely use it, or you don't use it if you've used AI on other projects. Or at least so it seems from my very, very limited A/B testing of similar products using AI and not using AI. Couple this with the wholesale fraud and dodginess coming from the art community, and you, as a creative director, an art director, or a publisher on a small scale, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't feel respected. Of course you have to earn that, but I would have thought that I had. I don't feel like I get what I give. I freely give my help and assistance if I have the energy to do so, and yet there's not much in the way of reciprocity for that, which is difficult for someone who believes in reciprocity and giving what I get. You know, my enthusiasm and my will to continue is pretty crushed, near terminal, flatlining, code blue. Some of that is health, some of that is the dogged, endless hounding from arseholes for over a decade, getting on for 15 years. And some of it is the lack of inspiration or the looming imminent threat of more controversy for creating anything even remotely interesting. Some of it is the recognition that the left wing and small L liberal values that I hold are dinosaur values. Rawr. People don't actually care about free speech or free expression beyond having their own values projected, protected, and enforced. People don't want to leave each other alone, and whether pseudo-left or far-right, both want to enforce their often similar for different reasons values. So it feels like there's no respite and there's nothing to look forward to. And what else is there? What else could I do? I exist on a slight tangent to regular publishing, especially genre fiction, erotica/romance, and horror. If I were to try to change my career at this late stage in life, it would probably be to fiction writing. But honestly, things are no better there. In traditional publishing, it is highly feminized, which isn't bad in its own right, but it's bad if you're a man. And it's a febrile, gossipy world that has no place for the kinds of things that I want to write. And I couldn't find an agent if I tried, again. And that's pretty much the only route into traditional publishing. And micro-publishing, self-publishing is difficult, more difficult outside the niche that role-playing games are. The indie and self-publishing scene is honestly even worse. It's a crabs in bucket mentality with the same j'accuse panopticon of shitty people being shitty to other shitty people. So dear God, no, I want no part of that. I used to want to work in comics. Yeah, I'll wait for you to finish laughing. My shift towards writing for computer games was pretty much strangled in the crib due to my backing of Gamergate, which of course I did. It was an anti-corruption and anti-censorship movement. Gamers, analog and digital, used to proudly be for those values. Not anymore, it seems. Not in the companies. So, you know, that's a scarlet letter branded upon me. Can I continue to mentor and consult and help people get into publishing their own games and things? Can you do that when you're a failure? Or no longer producing material, at least? My expertise wouldn't remain relevant for very long. Can one still make it on YouTube? without becoming the lowest common denominator content producer imaginable. My nuanced and thoughtful takes don't find much of an audience, and I never did this for the money or anything before. As a career change, again, I'm a dinosaur. I'd need to increase my subs and views by at least an order of magnitude to get anywhere as a full-time YouTuber. So, nah, I'm stuck, and that's demotivating. I still have some stuff coming out, mainly because I've loosened my grip and let other people write things for me. There's a couple of Machinations adventure paths that are on the way, written by third parties, along with a very weird, grimdark oriented adventure. I've got Ronin, which will be crowdfunding in March, and a solo gaming project, and that's all I'm letting myself get entangled in for now, other than maybe some third-party writing for Dragon Warriors, and a couple of other things which I'm probably forgetting, but which people will remind me of. So once I've cleared the decks of those things, I'll likely revisit all of this and figure out what I'm gonna do. This isn't a cry for help, it isn't a demand for hugs or validation or anything like that. This time of year is a time for reflection and thought, and that's what this is. I just feel exhausted, hopeless, and rudderless in this extremely negative creative environment. And I'm just taking the opportunity to reflect. Have a happy new year. Zang.
Greetings, Jerkian Warrior Elite. Know this, that your existence is down to the orders of our portly potentate, and that without him you would not exist. Your very conception in the clone tanks of Clonius, the cloning planet, is ordained by his obese omnipotence, and from that very moment you owe him your life, your servitude, and your loyalty. To be a soldier in the glorious army of the Jerkian Empire is perhaps the best fate that can befall lowly matter in this universe. The Jerkian Empire is all-conquering, all-powerful, has the best uniforms, the most advanced weaponry, and the greatest leader the galaxy has ever known. Nothing can stand in our way, and you, even as lowly as you are, can die knowing that you are serving a far greater cause and a far superior people to any other in the universe.
InvaderZ is a comedy game of mishap and alien adventure, where you play the part of diminutive and comedically and epically incompetent alien invaders. You can get it at post-mort.com and drive-through RPG.